left to drift in the void, until a human ship answered the call. The ship named Starblossom floated silently in the darkness of space. It was once a beautiful research vessel, built by the people of Talon, a race with skin that shimmered like silver under their home planet's 3 moons. Now it drifted alone, its engines cold and silent. Inside the Starblossom, 3 Talon scientists worked quickly. Warning lights flashed red across the control room as Chief Researcher Ha-Na checked the damage reports. "The main drive is completely destroyed," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "We cannot make it home." Engineer Sung Min nodded grimly. He had already tried everything he could think of to fix the engines. A strange energy storm had ripped through their section of space without warning, burning out systems faster than the ship's computers could protect them. "What about the emergency beacon?" asked Medical Officer Du Young, the youngest of the 3. His hands trembled slightly as he finished packing survival supplies. Ha-Na touched the central command panel. "I'm activating it now. The beacon will broadcast our location and distress call for 50 standard years. The Talon High Council will calculate our position and send help." The small silver disc on the control panel began to pulse with a soft blue light. Each pulse sent their cry for help racing through the emptiness of space. "Now we must prepare for long sleep," Ha-Na continued. "Our life support systems can only maintain one section of the ship. The rest will be shut down to conserve power." The 3 scientists moved through the corridors of their dying ship. They gathered what they needed in the central chamber where 3 stasis pods waited. These special beds would keep them alive but frozen in time until rescue came. Du Young looked at the pods nervously. "How long will we sleep?" "Until the council sends help," Sung Min answered. "The calculations will take time. They must determine if our research is valuable enough to justify a rescue mission." Du Young's eyes widened. "If it's valuable enough? But we are people, not just data." Ha-Na placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "This is our way. The good of all Talon comes before the needs of 3 scientists. The council will make the correct choice." But as they prepared the stasis pods, Ha-Na felt doubt growing inside her. Their mission had taken them far from regular space lanes, into a region few ships ever visited. Would the council truly send help so far? "We should record final messages," she decided, "in case the recovery takes longer than expected." Each scientist sat before the ship's recorder. Ha-Na spoke of her research and her hopes that it would benefit their people. Sung Min gave detailed reports on the ship's condition. Du Young spoke of his family and how he missed the golden fields of his home province. When they finished, Ha-Na activated the ship's automated systems. The Starblossom would maintain itself as best it could while they slept. "It is time," she said softly. They changed into the silver sleep suits that would monitor their bodies during stasis. One by one, they entered the pods. The clear covers closed over them as the stasis field activated. "Until we wake," Ha-Na whispered, the traditional Talon farewell for those entering stasis. "Until we wake," her companions answered as cold sleep began to take them. Outside their sleeping forms, the Starblossom systems followed their programming. Non-essential areas were sealed off. Life support focused only on the stasis chamber. Power systems switched to minimum output, and in the silence of deep space, the small blue beacon continued its steady pulse, a call for help that traveled outward in all directions. Far away in the grand halls of the Talon High Council, officials received the distress signal. They noted the ship's last known coordinates. They calculated the cost of a rescue mission against the value of the research team and their findings. After careful consideration, they made their decision. The mission would be marked inefficient for recovery. No ships would be sent. And so the Starblossom drifted, forgotten by its own people. Days became months, months became years, years became decades. The ship traveled through the silent darkness, carried by momentum and the gentle pull of distant stars. Inside, 3 scientists slept, unaware that no one was coming for them. The ship's systems began to fail, one by one. First the research computers, then the backup engines. The life support system struggled to maintain the stasis pods as power reserves dropped lower each year. Still, The small blue beacon continued, its pulse. A cry for help that no one was listening for. Until 74 years after the Starblossom was abandoned to the void, something unexpected happened. The beacon's signal reached a ship that no one on Talon had ever imagined would hear it. A human ship. The captain's choice stood proudly in the observation deck of the human exploration ship Horizon. The large viewing window showed an endless sea of stars against the blackness of space. This was the edge of human-explored territory, where few ships ventured. Captain Li Jin stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars. She was in her 40s with short black hair and eyes that had seen 20 years of space travel. She wore the simple blue uniform of the Earth Space Agency. "Captain, can I speak with you?" called a voice from behind her. Jin turned to see communications. Officer Park Wu approaching. He was young and eager, only on his second deep space mission. "What is it, Officer Park?" she asked. "I picked up something strange during my shift," he said, holding up his data pad. "A signal I can't identify. It's very weak, but it's definitely not natural." Jin took the pad and studied the readings. The signal pattern was regular, a clear sign of artificial origin. "How far away?" she asked. "About 3 days off our planned course," Park answered. "I already checked with Science Officer Kim. She says it's coming from an uncharted sector." Jin nodded slowly. The Horizon was on a strict schedule to map mineral deposits in this region. Their mission parameters were clear. Stay on course, complete the survey, return to Earth. Taking a 3-day detour would put them behind schedule. "Have you told anyone else?" Jin asked. "Just Chief Engineer Bay," Park said. "She thinks we should check it out." Jin wasn't surprised. Bei Su was naturally curious about anything unusual. That's why she was one of the best engineers in the fleet. "Call a meeting of the senior crew," Jin decided. 10 minutes in the command center. Soon the 6 senior officers gathered around the central table. Science Officer Kim Ji displayed the signal data on the main screen. "The pattern suggests a distress call," she explained, "but it's using a frequency we don't recognize." "Alien?" asked Security Chief Han. Kim shrugged. "Possibly, or just very old human tech." "How old?" Jin asked. "The signal has degraded significantly," Kim said. "Based on wave pattern decay, I'd guess it's been broadcasting for at least 50 years, maybe more." A murmur went through the crew. A 50-year-old distress call meant whoever sent it was likely long dead. Medical Officer Choi spoke up. "Even if there's no one to rescue, we should investigate. It could be historically significant." "We have a mission to complete," reminded Navigator Song. "The mining colonies are waiting for our survey data." Jin looked at each face around the table. "Opinions?" "We should stick to our mission," said Navigator Song. "The signal has waited 50 years. It can wait until we report it and someone else checks it." "I disagree," said Engineer Bay. "What if there are survivors in stasis, or an alien species we haven't met yet? This could be first contact." The debate continued for several minutes. Jin listened quietly, weighing each argument. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. "I've made my decision," she announced. "Officer Park, tell ESA headquarters we're investigating an unknown signal. Officer Song, plot a new course." "Captain," Song protested, "our orders are to represent the best of humanity out here." Jin finished. "And humans help those in trouble no matter how long the odds. That's who we are." The crew returned to their stations. The massive engines of the Horizon hummed as the ship changed direction, heading toward the mysterious signal. 3 days later, they arrived at the coordinates. At first, they saw nothing but empty space. "The signal is stronger here," Park reported, "but I don't see a source." "Scan for debris," Jin ordered. "Maybe it's just a beacon from a destroyed ship." Engineer Bay adjusted the sensors. "Wait, I'm picking up something small, magnifying now." On the main screen, a tiny dot appeared. As the image enhanced, they could see it was a ship unlike any they had seen before. Its design was elegant and streamlined with strange patterns across its hull. "Definitely not human," breathed Science Officer Kim. "And definitely not built in the last 50 years. Life signs? Jin asked. Medical Officer Choi studied her readings. Very faint, but yes, 3 of them. They appear to be in some kind of suspended animation. Jin stood up from her captain's chair. Suit up, she ordered. We're going aboard. The airlock of the Horizon hissed open. Captain Jin led the boarding team into the alien vessel. With her were Medical Officer Choi, Engineer Bei, and Security Chief Han. They wore light spacesuits, with clear helmets for protection. Stay alert, Jin reminded them. We don't know what we'll find. The team stepped carefully into the alien ship. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing smooth walls with strange patterns that seemed to glow faintly when touched by light. Beautiful, whispered Bei. She ran a scanner over the nearest wall. The material is unlike anything in our database. They moved deeper into the ship. Most systems appeared dormant, conserving the little power that remained after decades adrift. Only emergency lights glowed dimly along the floor, creating a path. The ship is guiding us, Jin realized. Follow the lights. The team walked through narrow corridors until they reached a sealed door. The control panel beside it blinked weakly with red and blue lights. This must be important, said Security Chief Han. The ship is using precious power to market. Engineer Bei studied the panel. I think it's a simple pressure system, she said after a moment. She pressed her hand against a circle in the center of the panel. The door slid open with a soft whine of protest. The room beyond was larger than the corridors. In the center stood 3 large glass pods. The stasis chambers, gasped Medical Officer Choi. She rushed forward, her scanner already working. 3 life forms, as we detected. They appear humanoid. The team gathered around the pods. Inside each was a slender figure with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Their features were delicate, with large eyes and no visible ears. They wore simple clothes of a material that looked like flowing metal. Are they alive? Jin asked. Choi checked her readings. Yes, but barely. The stasis system is failing. This pod especially. She pointed to the one on the right. The control panel beneath it flashed red warnings. The power system is almost gone, Bei reported, examining another panel. I estimate less than 2 days before complete failure. Jin made a quick decision. We need to stabilize them before we move them. Bei, can you connect our power supplies to their systems? The engineer looked uncertain. This technology is far beyond ours, Captain. I might do more harm than good. Try anyway, Jin ordered. Han, return to our ship and prepare the medical bay. Tell them we'll need 3 beds for unknown alien physiology. As Han left, Bei began working on the power systems while Choi studied the aliens' biology. Jin explored the rest of the chamber, finding what appeared to be a control center. I think this is their computer, she called to the others. Maybe we can learn something about them. Before she could touch anything, a loud alarm sounded from the stasis pods. The middle pod's lights had turned from blue to angry red. System failure, Bei shouted. The pod is shutting down. What happens if it fails completely? Jin asked. Either a controlled wake-up sequence or death, Choi replied grimly. And I don't think this ship has enough power for a controlled wake-up. Bei worked frantically, connecting power cables from their suits to the alien system. It's not accepting our power. Try the universal adapter, Jin suggested, the one we use for the old Earth colonies. Bei pulled the device from her kit and attached it between their power pack and the alien system. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the red lights faded back to blue. It worked, Bei exclaimed. But this is just temporary. We need to get them to our ship soon. As if responding to her words, the middle pod began to hiss. Frost on its surface melted away as the clear cover slowly lifted. The 3 humans stepped back, hands away from their weapons. This was a rescue mission, not a threat. Inside the pod, the alien's chest began to move with deeper breaths. Its fingers twitched. Then, suddenly, its eyes opened. Large, silver eyes that reflected the human's lights like mirrors. The alien looked at the strange being surrounding it. It spoke, a musical sound that none of them understood. Medical Officer Choi stepped forward slowly. We come as friends, she said clearly. We heard your call for help. The alien sat up weakly, looking at its companions still frozen in their pods. It spoke again, then touched a small device on its wrist. The device glowed, and a moment later, the alien spoke in a halting, mechanical voice. Help them. First, the silver-skinned alien named Hana sat weakly on the edge of her stasis pod. Her large eyes blinked several times as they adjusted to the light after decades of darkness. The translator device on her wrist worked hard to process the new language. It was hearing. You, not Talon, she said through the device. Her voice sounded mechanical and flat. Captain Jin nodded. We are humans from planet Earth. I am Captain Li Jin of the exploration ship Horizon. Hana looked at her sleeping companions. Medical Officer Choi and Engineer Bei were working to stabilize their pods. Save them, Hana said. Please, we're trying, Choi assured her. But we need to understand your technology better. Hana tried to stand but fell back weakly. Decades in stasis had left her muscles fragile. How long? She asked. How long have we drifted? Captain Jin hesitated before answering. Based on the decay of your signal and the condition of your ship, we estimate around 70 years. Hana's silver eyes widened. 70 years? Then the council. They did not send help. We don't know about any council, Jin said gently. We found your signal by chance during our exploration mission. A small sound like a musical note of sadness escaped Hana's throat. They calculated. They decided we were not worth saving. Captain Jin didn't understand everything, but she recognized pain when she saw it. She placed a careful hand on the alien's shoulder. We decided you were worth saving, she said simply. The second pod began making alarming sounds. Engineer Bei called out, This one's failing faster than we thought. The power transfer isn't working properly. Hana forced herself to stand, using Jin for support. She moved to the pod where her companion Sung Min lay sleeping. Need special sequence, she explained, her fingers trembling as she tried to work the controls. Tell me what to do, Bei offered. My hands are steadier, right? Now together, the human engineer and the alien scientist worked to stabilize the pod. Hana would point and explain in her halting translated speech, and Bei would make the adjustments. Amazing, Bei muttered as she worked. Your technology is at least a century ahead of ours. Different path, Hana replied. Not better. Just different. After tense minutes of work, both failing pods were stabilized. Medical Officer Choi suggested moving Hana to the human ship where they could properly care for her. Not without them, Hana insisted, pointing to her companions. We'll bring them too, Captain Jin promised. But we need to prepare special rooms for them on our ship. Will you help us understand what they need? Hana agreed. With support from Jin and Choi, she slowly walked through the corridors of her ship. She seemed to be saying goodbye to the vessel that had been her home and her prison for so many decades. On board the Horizon, the human crew had prepared their medical bay as best they could. Many stopped to stare as the silver-skinned visitor was helped through their ship. Hana stared back with equal curiosity. So different, she said, looking at their technology. So many buttons and screens. We use thought patterns and light. In the medical bay, Dr. Choi helped Hana onto a bed and began a careful examination. Your biology is fascinating, she told the alien. Your cells seem to contain traces of metal. Yes, Hana confirmed. We evolved near magnetic mountains. Metal in our blood helps us sense fields. As her strength slowly returned, Hana told them about her people, the Talons. They were a species that valued logic and efficiency above all else. Emotion was seen as a weakness, a remnant of primitive times. The council would have calculated cost of rescue against value of our research, she explained. They decided, not worth the resources. Captain Jin looked troubled. They left, you to die because of a calculation? It is our way, Hana said, though her voice held a new note of uncertainty. The needs of many, above the needs of few. But you're not just numbers, said Engineer Bay, who had joined them after helping secure the stasis pods for transport. You're people. People are numbers, Hana replied. But she didn't sound convinced anymore. Later, as Hana rested, Captain Jin met with her senior crew. Their society sounds cold, said Security Chief Han. Different, corrected Jin. Not better or worse, just different. But I wonder if Hana is beginning to question her people's ways. Medical Officer Choi nodded. When I told her we changed course just to investigate a signal with little chance of finding survivors, she seemed shocked. She asked why we would waste resources on such an unlikely mission. What did you tell her? Jin asked. Choi smiled. I told her that's what humans do. We hope, we take chances. Sometimes we waste resources on impossible things because it's the right thing to do. The days passed quickly aboard the Horizon. Under Medical Officer Choi's care, all 3 Talon scientists regained their strength. Du Young, the youngest, adapted most quickly to their new reality. He spent hours in the ship's library, learning about human history and culture. Sungmin, the engineer, worked closely with Engineer Bay to study both ship systems. At first, he was frustrated by what he saw as primitive human technology, but slowly, he began to appreciate their creative solutions. Your people use simple parts in clever ways, he told Bay one day as they repaired damage to the Star Blossom's navigation system. We would have replaced this entire section, but you fixed it with just wire and basic tools. We make do with what we have, Bay replied, with a smile. That's the human way. Hana, as the leader, spent most of her time with Captain Jin. They discussed what would happen when the humans finished their original mission and returned to Earth space. Your council believed us not worth saving, Hana said as they shared a meal in the captain's quarters. But what will your leaders think of bringing aliens to your worlds? Jin sipped her tea thoughtfully. Our leaders will have many questions, but humans are curious by nature. Most will welcome you. And the others? Will learn to accept you in time, Jin said. Change doesn't come easily to any species. Hana nodded. The translator had improved its understanding of human speech, making their conversations flow more naturally now. We have been discussing our future, Hana said, referring to herself and her companions. The logical choice would be to request transport back to Talon space. Is that what you want? Jin asked. Hana was quiet for a long moment. When I was awakened, I learned my people abandoned us. The council calculated our worth and found us lacking. For 70 years we drifted, forgotten. She looked up, her silver eyes reflecting the cabin lights. Then humans found us. You did not calculate, you simply helped. It's what we do, Jin said simply. Yes, Hana agreed. It is what you do, and it is beautiful in its inefficiency. 1 week later, both the human and Talon crews gathered on the observation deck. Captain Jin had called a meeting to share important news. We've received a response from Earth Space Agency headquarters, she announced. They're sending a diplomatic vessel to meet us. They want to welcome our Talon friends properly. Cheers rose from the human crew. The Talons looked surprised at this emotional display. But what of your mission? Hana asked. The mineral survey you were sent to complete? Another ship will take over, Jin explained. Our new mission is to bring you safely to Earth space and help establish friendly relations between our peoples. Later, as technicians prepared to transfer the Star Blossom's research data to the Horizon's computers, Du Young approached Captain Jin. Of the 3 Talons, he had become the most comfortable with human ways, even trying to smile occasionally. I have studied your star charts, he said. The journey to Earth will pass near Talon space. You could drop us there instead. Jin looked surprised. Is that what you want? Du Young glanced at his companions who stood nearby. We have talked about it. The logical choice would be to return to our people. But, Jin prompted, sensing there was more. Hana stepped forward. But we have decided not to make the logical choice this time. We wish to stay with humans, Sung Min added, to learn your ways. And to teach you ours, Du Young said. The best parts, at least. Hana looked out at the stars. For too long, our people have valued cold calculation over living connection. Perhaps we were sent drifting into the void, so that humans could find us, so we could bring back what we have learned. Captain Jin smiled. Then welcome aboard officially. Earth will be your new home for as long as you wish. 2 days later, the Star Blossom was secured to the horizon's hull. The combined ships began their journey through the stars, heading toward Earth space. On the bridge, Hana stood beside Captain Jin, watching the starfield change as they entered faster-than-light travel. Do you regret your decision? Jin asked, quietly. No, Hana replied. For the first time in my life, I made a choice based on more than logic. I chose what felt right. She touched the captain's arm lightly. Thank you for answering our call when no one else would. Jin nodded. No, one should be left to drift alone in the void. No, Hana agreed. No one should.